Here's a preview of this episode.
Used to host, right? You no longer host?
Giving it up.
Giving it up. What was that?
An open mic, which could be brutal. Pulled onto the stage by a stripper at one point. No, she came on stage while I was doing my set, and like...
Do you have William Montgomery stories?
Let's...
And now, this episode.
Hey guys, Mark Masters here with Nate Brown.
How's it going?
How's it going? We are headed to Loonee's in Colorado Springs, which is 48 miles away, looks like, and is gonna take us, oh boy, estimated arrival, okay, we'll be there in an hour and 10 minutes or so. So we're just gonna talk some comedy until then. This is exciting for me because Nate was the host of Hodi's open mic. So for those of you with no context, I've actually released some of these episodes now. Many of them were filmed before I released any of them, but we're actually in the middle of season 1 right now, and I had an opportunity to get with Nate, and so I wanted to talk to him because he was such an important part of this season, because many of the comedians, Sarah Benson, Nick Dean, some of the great episodes were me going down to Hodi's, Elin Stribling, Sammy Anzer, to this terrific mic where Nate used to host, right? You no longer host?
Giving it up.
Giving it up. What was that? How did you get started hosting at Hodi's?
So it was like the first mic I ever did. Okay. And so I was always like kind of part of the Hodi's scene or the Fort Collins scene. And I was friends with Mike Davidson, who was the host right before me, and he hosted for 2.5 years also. So like we both hosted the same amount of time. So when he decided to give it up, he was like going to law school at CU Boulder, so he decided he didn't want to try to do those two things at once, and he was moving to Boulder. So he passed it off to me, and I was honored to take it since it was like such a part of the Fort Collins scene, kind of one of the headquarters of it. But I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's changed since I first started hosting. There's the Aggie show, and there's the Colorado Room. There's all kinds of other things happening, but yeah, I was happy to take it over.
Nice. How long did you run it for?
2.5 years.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So that's like 125 weeks. How many times do you think you missed the mic or had somebody like substitute for you?
Not too many. Like maybe 5 to 10.
Wow.
In that range.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did that make you stronger as a comedian, do you think?
Yeah, definitely hosting. Like the hosting skill was not something I really had that much of when I first started, and just having to like get up between every comic and try to keep the energy up, and you know, not that I'm not a super high energy comic, so I'm still working on that part, but just like learning to riff and joke about whatever just happened on stage and handle the weirdness of someone heckling or whatever else. Like it's really helped with that. That's part of what comedy's about.
Nice. How were you in the beginning? Were you good? How long have you been doing comedy? Let's start with that.
7 years.
Wow, 7 years.
Yeah.
And so that was like 4 to 5 years in? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you were probably pretty good as a comedian 4 years in, I would imagine.
I usually got like pretty good laughs at Hodi's. I think that's one of the reasons he picked me, was that I was doing well there, like consistently, and so like he thought I could warm up the audience to some extent, and you know, keep it like a fun mic. And that's one of the reasons I picked the guy after me, Luke Gaston. Was he like would crush every week, or like at least I saw him bomb like once or twice maybe, and like he would be there every single week, no matter what. So just having consistency there was important.
Nice. Now, did you start in Fort Collins?
Yeah.
Okay. So you now live in Denver, right?
Right. I actually lived in Greeley. No one ever knows that, but
okay.
People think I lived in Fort Collins because I would drive up there constantly. And
well, Nate Brown trivia.
Yeah, I was in Greeley the whole time. It's a secret. Not really.
Are there any mics in Greeley?
There was one on Thursday called Outriders that was like, they literally would not light you no matter how long you went. So it was literally like, I saw 30-minute sets there sometimes for an open mic, which could be brutal. So yeah, occasionally people would do well with that, but it was like 9 times out of 10 I was just sitting there like head head in hand, like trying to kind of meditate my way through and like not freak out that this is taking so long. But
well, at least it was close to your house.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that's the other thing, is like I would wait 45 minutes to get to a Fort Collins mic and 45 minutes back. So comedy's taught me even more patience than I may have had already. So yeah, that was a crazy mic, but I liked it. I mean, it was fun to be able to do 10 minutes every time, or 15. I would try to like not do my old material over and over and over again like some of the more 20-minute people would, but
right.
That was a fun one. Actually, I missed that mic.
That's good experience to stretch out like that, I would say.
Yeah, and people would drive up there, like even from Denver, if they had like a 15-minute set coming up, and in Denver it's hard to get 15 minutes like anywhere.
It's hard to get 4 minutes sometimes.
Right. So they would drive up and just test out like what does it feel like to do that much time, and you have to do more crowd worky things and kind of like not just do your quick tight 4 minutes. You have to like sort of be yourself more, I think, in a longer set. So it was good practice for sure. I think it helped with Hodi's because they're like I did so much crowd work there, like because it's just like wasted drunk. It's a bit like a road show, like it's just drunk like oil field workers and stuff just yelling at you, and you have to like make them not hate you for having
I love the Hodi's mic. Did you have a lot to do with the quality of the crowd there? Like, were you involved in the marketing at all, or?
Well, when I got there, like there's been a consistent crowd. I just learned that like the 10-year anniversary is coming up. I might have held on for that if I'd known, but I thought it was we were only like 9 years in. But anyway, it's like it's a known enough mic even to non-comics that people show up, like at least some people show up no matter what. But I think like a lot of tweaks I made were pretty useful. Like I figured out how to turn the lights off in the back, and I bought a spotlight and changed some of the rules of sign up and stuff to try to get more comics to show up, and a lot of those made a bigger difference than you'd think. Like lighting is one of my pet peeves, where if I'm on a show or mic that has really bad lighting, or like the audience is more lit up than the comic is, it just really bothers me. So figuring out how to turn the lights off in the back, it went from like pretty quiet, kind of like Hodi's was known for just people like smirking and smiling at you and no actual out loud laughter. Like it was kind of almost library atmosphere sometimes. It went from that to like actual people laughing, enjoying themselves. It felt like a showcase a lot of the time. So just people knowing that they had a good time last time and wanting to come back, and I would see regulars there every week and stuff. I think that did help with turnout.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of my favorite mics. It's a long drive from Denver, as the viewers know.
Yeah.
But totally worth it. So, I don't know a lot about the Fort Collins comedy scene. You were there 4, 5, 6 years. Mm-hmm. What was that like? Even though you lived in Greeley, I guess.
Yeah. It's like close. It's a tight group of people, and like super friendly. The audiences are like spoil you. That's one of the reasons I wanted to move, was I just like, this is too easy, and I'm kind of become like the big fish in a little pond thing was happening, where I'm like, okay, I drive to Denver and I don't do well at the mics there, and then I feel terrible and don't want to go back, and I want the challenge of having to make a Denver audience laugh. And Comedy Works is easy, but like relatively easy, but
sure.
A lot of, so many Denver mics can be really brutal, and which is good for growth. And a lot of Denver comics would come up to Hodi's, and they would almost always have one of the best sets of the night, like just because they're so used to much worse situations for comedy. So that's one of the reasons I've already forgot what your question was. Oh, what Fort Collins seems like. Yeah. So there's it's like definitely built up. David Rodriguez like starting comedy was a big development. Like him and Kyle Polk starting kind of around the same time, like, and Jacob Erdman. They just started setting up a bunch of different shows.
When was that? Was that before you started?
That was after. So I saw the before time. And there was shows and stuff like.
Did they move to Fort Collins, or did they live in Fort Collins and they just started comedy?
That's a good question. I know Kyle's lived a bunch of different places. I think David was already in Fort Collins, and just and he was like driving down to Denver and like watching all these shows for like 2 years before he even started stand up. He was writing and all this stuff. So yeah, and then they all set up so many shows that it built up into even like a cooler scene than what it was. But there were showrunners before. There's this guy, Captain Jason, who had like a curly mustache, and it was almost a pirate looking dude, and he ran some shows and mics and stuff, and he was the proto David Rodriguez, I guess. But I think he quit comedy at this point. And
nice view of the cows.
Oh yeah.
Huh? Welcome to Colorado.
It's a nice day for driving this far.
That was brutal traffic.
Yeah, I
think we're through it now.
Screaming in my car. I don't know why I didn't just I should have taken public transport. I literally got there at the exact same time as I would have if I just followed my original plan, but
well, there'll be no traffic on the way back, at least.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm like curious what my drive's gonna be back to my house. I feel like it's gonna be half the time or something. 20 minutes instead of 45, or what it ended up being.
Yeah. So we're going to Colorado Springs. We're going to Loonee's Comedy Club. Have you been to this open mic before? No, I think it's pretty cool. I've been here a handful of times. It's a little bit like, I like to think of it as a light Comedy Works New Talent Night.
Hmm.
So Comedy Works New Talent Night, you might get anywhere from 100 to, maybe 300 people in the audience in like one of the best showrooms in the country. Here, there'll be 50 people who probably didn't pay for their ticket, but are there just to see the show. They're not comics, and that's pretty amazing for an open mic.
It's weird. I haven't heard of people driving down before, but
yeah,
I guess it is just a mic.
I think one reason is it's so far away. Like, we left from, I think that was Lonetree, Colorado, where we were. I'm not 100% sure, but far south of Denver, south of the Park Meadows Mall, for anybody who lives out this way. And it's going to take us over an hour to get there. So if you're coming from Denver, you're talking like an hour and a half or something. And you got to get there by 6 or it's miserable. You go up way late and get a shorter set. So that means you got to leave Denver at like 4:30. That's like logistically difficult for a lot of people. Plus, the downside I've seen at Loonee's is every once in a while there'll be so many comics that they cut your sets short. So like, I try and have a plan for the mics I go to, and this mic is usually you get a 3-minute set. Okay. And so every once in a while, I think one time I went there and we got cut to 2 minutes.
Wow.
And I was just like, I had a 3-minute bit I wanted to work on, and it just like really kind of messed everything up, and 3-hour round trip drive, and it was still great, but
still, it's not. Yeah, for that much driving, it's not.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, and you can't really hit anything else as well. Like in Denver, maybe you go to a mic and you sit for 2 or 3 hours before you get to go up, which can be a bummer. But usually you can go hit a second mic right after it. But I think it's a terrific mic, and it's a cool club, and they seem to do.
I don't think I've ever actually even been to Loonee's. I've heard of it. People talking about it all the time, and I know some Denver comics host down there, and usually people who already like have family in the spring, like Jacob Rupp, I know is like hosted there.
Yep.
But I know you can kind of break in a little bit if you keep showing up. But
yeah, the other amazing thing about Loonee's and this open mic is they'll film your set, and I want to say it's $5 to get the video.
It's really good,
which is sweet.
Yeah, it's not 30 or whatever.
Whatever Comedy Works
premium
is.
Comedy Works one is.
Yeah.
Although they have like $10 ones too, I think, or something. But
I want to say $20 or 25 is the cheapest now. I think it's 25 is the cheapest and 40 is the most expensive.
Damn.
It's gone
I
up a
haven't done
lot.
that in a while. I should have gotten my last tape. I always like procrastinate it, and then I'm like, they have to have deleted that by now.
Wendy Curtis in the State of New Talent meeting said that if you've missed the deadline, you should ask for your tape anyways, because there's a chance they have it. Okay. So maybe,
it's like a month later is the deadline.
That's what they say.
Okay.
Yeah. But she made it sound like, I don't know, maybe sometimes they forget to delete the tapes, or
it's just still in their system for some reason.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, I should have. Maybe I could still. I don't know.
What is it? Video at comedyworks.com or videos at comedyworks.com?
Yeah, I've done it. I have the card of at least the lady who used to do it. I don't know if it's still her, but
no, it's a guy now.
Okay.
world famous Castle Rock straight ahead. Just taking you on a tour of southern, I guess it's in southern Colorado.
It's on the verge.
Yeah.
Southern half.
Yeah.
Is Castle Rock world famous? It's like nothing that's called world famous is world famous. Nothing that is world famous needs to be called. Needs to announce it.
But that is the eponymous Castle Rock. Do you see the castle shape, kind of?
Yes. I think I used to know that, and I forgot.
Did you grow up in Colorado?
Yeah, I did. I'm one of the few full natives.
Full native.
Never lived anywhere else. I've traveled and stuff, but...
Have you done any comedy travel? Done any shows outside of Colorado?
Yeah, my sister lives in Austin, so...
Oh, no way.
I'll sleep on her couch and go do some shows and mics and stuff. And, I love the Austin scene too. It reminds me of Denver, and I think it's like they got some like really smart, good comics there too. So Pat Dean is one that I'm a fan of. He's on Twitter and I fave his tweets all the time. And I don't know. There's just a really good scene. Avery Moore is like one of the best people I've ever met. Just like a delight. So
nice.
Yeah, Austin, and I did like a Wyoming overnighter with Tobias Livingston and
I love him.
Derek
What a
Stroop.
great joke writer.
Yeah, he writes more than any comic I know. Like just the number of, he keeps them all on these like note cards, so he has just like stacks and stacks of them, and he'll like literally like flip through them at a show and pick out 10 minutes of stuff that he's written at some different points. He does well, like most of the time I see him now.
Yeah, he's great. I'm always happy when I see him at a mic in Denver, which is pretty rare, because it's a long drive for him.
Yeah.
He's a northern Colorado guy.
I think he's in Greeley too.
Okay.
There's some Greeley. I don't know. Mitch Jones was in Greeley for a long time.
That's a pretty cool credit to have gone on tour with Derek Stroop. He's gonna become something pretty soon.
Once he's on TV, I'm gonna open for Derek Stroop. Will be on my on my CV.
How long ago was that? And what was he like as a comic back then?
Last year or something.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
He was pretty good. He was pretty solid.
He was very good. It was a terrible show. I'll admit. One, I had strep like going into it, which I should have just stayed home or something or swapped out. But I was all excited because I don't know, staying at a hotel, the pay was good, and but it was, what was the name of that? It was like a city in Wyoming.
Cheyenne,
Rollins. That was it.
Rollins.
And I told my friend grew up in Wyoming, my roommate Tyrell Hartman, who's a comic too. But he like when I told him I was going to Rollins, he was like, "Oh my God, that's one of the worst towns in Wyoming." That's saying a lot. So it was like in a bar in a hotel, and the audience was like the drunkest I've ever been in front of, probably, like yelling throughout Tobias's opening set, and then I did okay at first, and then they just started heckling really aggressively, or just like talking in the back. That was the biggest thing, was just so many conversations for like, it was like 30 or 40 people, and there were like 4 conversations happening from the beginning of Tobias's set to into Derek Stroop. Derek Stroop would like get them quiet. It made me feel a little better when he got on stage, because like they were still talking some during his set and heckling, and he had to scream at them a million times, and it was like, one of those, probably the hardest show I've ever done, maybe. And then like Derek, I guess Tobias like gave him a signal that it was like 5 minutes or 10 minutes left, and Derek thought that was 1 minute, so he like got off early, and then the producer, one of the audience members like came up and started screaming, because he was like, "I paid for this amount of time, like even though we weren't paying attention, I'm gonna yell at you for like the show going short." And I was just
yikes.
I don't know, it was like, I don't know, it turned out to be a fun night. I got very drunk and also high. That was I think that was the last time I got high. I never get high, but I was drunk enough to say yes, and so I was like very cross-faded, and I just remember like my visual field was like 10 frames per second. It was just like flashing in and out, and I've never experienced that before, so that's the level of drunk I got.
That's cool. Is Rollins far? Like you can get to Wyoming in like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, it was
from Denver.
longer than that. Tobias likes to
Some
take
places are
weird shortcuts, like shortcuts that take longer than just he likes to take back roads. I think it's just like because he likes to smoke weed and stuff and doesn't want to get pulled over is one of the reasons. Or has weed on him.
Right.
So it took, I think it was like 2 hours to get there or something like that. It was a truck, a little bit of a drive.
That's a cool adventure. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Derek Stroop, of course, he won the 2019 Comedy Works New Faces contest. Started with over 200 comedians, so that's a real big accomplishment. He's recently passed at the club. He's now a paid regular at Comedy Works, and he's headlined at Loonee's recently.
It's awesome.
And yeah, he's doing big things. So that's pretty cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, he's gonna be on our Elliot's Martini Bar. I still run one show in Fort Collins.
Oh, cool.
At Elliot's
Is it
Martini
a monthly?
Bar. Yeah.
Nice.
Last Sunday of every month, and it's like a super late night. Starts at 11 p.m. Sometimes 11:15.
On Sundays?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's like geared for service industry people who are getting off around then. Like it gives them a little time. If they get off at 10 or whatever, they can come and see some comedy, because usually they can't make it. So because Chris Munoz, who started it, was like a waiter. He's been in the service industry for a long time and been at all these like high-end restaurants and stuff like that. So he knows like the struggle of trying to go to a comedy thing after working the dinner shift or whatever. So we get pretty good turnout, and it's usually like a lot better if we have it's a 3-day weekend or something like that. That's always our best nights.
Nice.
But,
yeah.
He's gonna crush Elliot's. He's like perfect for it. So they like big and boisterous, which I guess most audiences do. But,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you're still using that spotlight, or do they have their own
a
good
different
lighting?
one? Yeah, I sold that spotlight to Luke, the next host.
Oh, okay.
I've tried to use it at other venues, but it like looks for whatever reason everywhere else it looks like you're just working on your car in there. It's like the worst lighting in the world anywhere else. But Hodi's has like this row of like colored lights that add some kind of color to your face and doesn't make it look like pale and like everyone's a vampire or something. But so I just decided to pass it on. It's the official Hodi spotlight now.
Okay.
But yeah, Elliot's has its own like colored lights that we put up.
Nice. Cool.
Excited to see Loonee's, because like I know Stanhope was there, and like Roseanne was randomly in town or something. Like she got put on the show at Loonee's, and everyone like said it was like the best show they've ever seen. Like Roseanne crushed, and I was one of the few that missed it, because there was like a bunch of Fort Collins people who drove down to that. Kyle Pogue and stuff. Even though Stanhope was like in Fort Collins the next night, they decided they wanted to see both shows, and I guess it was worth it. So I've been wanting to like
check
see
out
the place. Yeah. I'm like curious what it's like.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you know the like Springs comics and stuff now?
I mean, I know Callan Reese and Austin Brinker. Basically the people who come up to Comedy Works. Like both of them were at Thick Skin last night in Denver, so I regularly see them. They'll probably be here tonight.
I know Callan like has won Thick Skin like 5 times or more now. I don't know, but
he's great. And I actually had him and Derek Stroop on my very first Vail comedy show.
Oh shit!
So it was fun. It was fun, and he is actually kind of cool. A few weeks ago, for the January show, the Vail Daily, the newspaper up there, reran a picture of him at the mic. It's just a great, he's funny to look at, basically.
Callan is.
Callan is. So that was cool. I sent that to him, and he was excited to see that.
He's famous now.
Yeah.
Damn. I should grow out a mullet and become a mullet comic.
Works for him.
I'll be to Fort Collins. I'll just drive up to Fort Collins a lot. I'll move back. I'll move to Fort Collins for the first time and become the mullet comic of Northern Colorado.
Have you done any shows in the Colorado Springs area?
Yeah, I've done the Oscar Blues show.
Okay.
I've headlined that and featured.
Sweet. So you've been down here, you just haven't been to Looney's.
Yeah, I also did like the Dab Lounge shows. I don't know if that's even still happening.
Yeah, I heard that closed down.
Yeah, I've done that like 2 or 3 times, and I've never done a dab to this day. I did a CBD dab once, not down there, but yeah, those are some of the not greatest shows I've ever been to. But actually, they're like entertaining. They're fun to like talk about later. They're a good story because they're just like everyone's so high that they can't follow anything you're saying. And my roommate said
that could be the future of comedy if legal marijuana spreads the nation. You know, there might, who knows, 10 years from now you might be able to order dabs from your server at comedy clubs.
Yeah. Instead of alcohol being the thing that supports all comedy clubs, it's going to be weed.
Yeah.
It could make comedy worse or better. I think if it was dabs, that would make it much worse. But being high, you know, makes people giggly too. So yeah, it was my roommate said he did the Dab Lounge, and he like figured out a couple of his jokes bombed, and then he figured out like this three or four jokes that were really working. And he like realized they wouldn't remember what he just said, so he started doing the same 3 or 4 jokes like over and over again, and they were laughing every time. Like literally, he was right that they did not remember.
That is hilarious.
And it was like literally only the comics noticed that he was just saying the same jokes over and over. It was just, that's gonna be if it ever comes back, it's gonna be my strategy. It's figuring out what will be the most stonery material I have.
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
I think you have to just do like one-liner jokes in that situation.
Yeah.
Just like a quick, short, like keep it within their attention span, and then they'll be into it.
Yeah, no thinkers in that crowd.
Yeah. At least when they're high, they're not thinkers.
Right.
Not anti-stoner, but when you're that far gone. I feel like I got high off the CBD dab. I was like kind of out of it because I don't smoke any weed, and everyone kept telling me like that's impossible. Like there's no way you could feel high off CBD.
Huh.
But I felt like kind of loopy for like 3 hours afterward. And didn't feel like just a body high. I think I'm like really sensitive to THC. Maybe that's why. But any trace amount in there was enough. Have you done a dab?
No, I'm dab free. Yabba dabba, no dabs for me.
Damn. You're a poet, you're a rapper.
Oh, yeah. Check out my SoundCloud, everybody.
Rapping comic.
Oh my gosh, speaking of rapping comics, who's Haley Driscoll? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
She had her new talent night this week, and she was freaking great. She was so funny, holy cow.
Really?
Yeah.
What did she?
I've
seen some of her material.
I feel like if I say the title of it, it kind of spoils the
joke.
Yeah, so I can't say it, but I'll tell you later. And
Giving up.
check out her SoundCloud if one exists.
I'd be interested. Haley Driscoll SoundCloud.
Yeah.
She has one like I don't know if it's a rap. She does like a song that goes on like her entire set. Was that the same one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, I've probably seen it.
Yeah.
I've also seen her pterodactyl impression or something. Dinosaur.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that, but I love a good dinosaur impression.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your very first open mic.
Okay.
Do you remember where, when, why?
Yeah. It was Hodi's, as I said earlier.
No. Wasn't paying attention. If you could just repeat the material over and over again.
Yeah.
I inhaled a lot of gas fumes waiting for you to show up. So.
Right. You're freaking high right now. I can tell. I'm gonna get a DUI. It was at Hodi's. I was like calling in to Comedy Works for the 8 weeks or whatever before, but I wasn't practicing comedy. And then finally I got on, and I was like, oh shit, I've not practiced this once. I'm about to be in front of 200 people. So I like.
How did you find out about the Comedy Works new talent? Like phone? Did you go to a show or? It
might have been online or something. I really don't remember how I found out about it. Maybe I just like walked by the Comedy Works and saw a poster or something.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, I was calling in forever, and then I just I finally got on and freaked out, and I spent hours and hours and hours writing that first set. Like, I wish I had that same motivation now to really like polish and, you know, get every word down to how I want it. Which I do it to some extent, but I like the amount of work I put into that first set was a lot. But so I did like maybe 4 minutes of my first Hodies, and I got some comments on it. Like Mike Hammock liked it. He was like a Fort Collins person back then, and
2018 New Faces.
Yeah,
winner.
I'm friends with all the funny people. I'm gonna be one of them one day. No, I'm fine. I'm proud. I believe in myself.
You're very funny.
I'm gonna crush tonight.
You'll do very well tonight. Assuming we go up before half the audience is left.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I'm gonna use my Denver sway. I'm sure none of them will know who I am. Is there like a regular host for this, or?
Well, the owner of the club, Eric, is always there.
Okay.
And they kind of rotate the hosts. There's one guy from Pueblo. I forget his name, but I've seen him a bunch of times. Sometimes if somebody's working this weekend, like to host, they'll be the host tonight.
Okay. Just to practice.
Yeah, and kind of, I don't know, maybe it's part of the compensation agreement or whatever. But they have tightened up a little bit. When I first started going about a year ago, you could call in and get on the list. Like I could call in and say like, hey, I'm on my way. And then I guess maybe some people abused it or didn't show up, or I don't know what happened, but they were like, no more calling in, you have to be here.
Just got overwhelmed with, I had to change that at Hodi's too, because I was getting so many, I was cool with out-of-towners messaging me, but it was just like half the list was signing up in advance, and then they'd show up at 10 minutes after the mic started, and it was just like unfair that people would be there like super on time and not get rewarded for it. But maybe they should change it to that. Just let us two call in this one time, and
this one time
change the rule back.
So anyways, yeah, you'll crush there. What was I? Oh yeah, your first mic.
Yeah.
It was at Hodi's.
Yeah. Or, it went well, and it was like very dark and dirty. Like, I don't know. I had sex with my dog in the set, and I just talked about death for like 2 minutes.
Do you remember any of the notes that Mike Hammock gave you?
He just said like, "Good job, keep coming back" and stuff. There wasn't. It wasn't like notes like Comedy Works give you. It was just kind of like a conversation afterward. But then I had Comedy Works the next night. It went pretty well as far as I remember. I think I have the video somewhere. I need to like dig it out before it gets corrupted or something on whatever hard drive it's on. But like Adam Caton Holland was there, and he kind of complimented it and stuff. So this is back when both those dudes were like a little less big of a deal. So it was I didn't know who Adam Caton Holland was at the time.
Right. Now a TV star.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. National touring.
He's been on WTF with Mark Maron. Did you listen to that?
No, I didn't. But I read his book. I'm sure he was probably on his book tour.
Yeah.
Was that what he was doing?
Yeah, he was talking about his book and his sister and stuff. It was good.
Yeah. Have you seen his one-man show?
No. It's pretty new, right? Or maybe it's a few months older than I thought.
Yeah, I don't think he's done it very much in Colorado. He's done it in LA, New York City. He's going to be in San Francisco, I think, like next week or this week.
I didn't see that.
Messaged some friends that live out there. I was like, you should check this out. This guy is hilarious. And, I told him he's going to have a Netflix special soon. I don't know if that's true.
I was going to say, wow. You got the inside track.
No, I don't, but I just feel like he's on that trajectory.
Yeah, I think one-man show is the type of thing that could be Netflix.
Yeah, totally.
Made into something.
And who knows if it's actually Netflix? Maybe it's Hulu or something else. But
and I could definitely see any of the Grawlix dudes like being part of that. Like the Degenerates, or like the shorter set ones where it's like 10 minutes or 15. Yeah, watch those. I haven't been. It's like been my comedy homework in my brain for a while.
I feel like we should flip the camera around. How beautiful is this? This is what's the song they wrote about this? Purple Mountain's Majesty.
Oh yeah. Star Spangled Banner.
No, it's not that one. America the Beautiful, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's written about this view, which you guys can't see.
Yeah.
Because this is great TV. And if you're listening on a podcast, you definitely can't see it. But it is stunning. It's like purplish blue with some pink. There's Pikes Peak. And it's just stunning mountain ranges. Some snow on the top of some of them.
I do take Colorado for granted. Like, views like this are not available everywhere. So I just got spoiled growing up here. Barely noticed sometimes.
Yeah, this is amazing. Hold on, I'm gonna pop the camera down.
Do it.
See if you guys can appreciate that. It already changed color. It's already like a little more gray than it was. Okay, so I keep interrupting. So you did Hodi's and then you went to New Talent Night.
Yeah, it went pretty well. I mean, I was definitely nervous looking, and it was still like a 2-minute set, and 2-minute sets are usually nicer to you and stuff. So, like, it wasn't, objectively like good, but I think it was like it boosted my confidence enough to like keep going and feeling like I could be good at this thing.
Nice. And was Deacon Gray there at the time?
That's a good question. I feel like he probably was.
Okay.
He was hosting like every time when I was first starting. So.
How long? And then, do you remember roughly how long it was until you got back up on stage? Was it different from now? Like, were there less comics?
Yeah. Oh, you mean at Comedy Works?
Yeah.
I don't know how long I might not have called in. I was pretty bad early on, calling in really consistently. I got better at that later on, but so it might have been a while. It was definitely less time back then than it is now. But what was I saying? I don't know. The next mic I did was like that Thursday, I think. I still remember that one because it was the Fort Collins scene. It was like I got invited to someone's house like right after, and I was like part of the crew like right out the gate. Whereas in Denver, it takes 3 years before that happened. Like they at least have to have seen you around for 3 years practically before you're like best friends with everybody. I'm exaggerating, but it's a little harder to break into that social circle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm friends with Denver people now.
Yeah.
I just know like people who first started showing up, it's like they feel invisible for 2 years or longer.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I've already seen like people show up and then fall out of the scene, so I think part of the reason that happens is people don't want to invest any energy into somebody unless it seems like they're really going to stick around.
Right. Yeah, it's like a natural emergent thing from what the state of comedy is in Denver. Just like that many people showing up, and you don't want to try to be friends with a dude who's you'll see the face up one time, or you have to know that they're not gonna disappear in 2 seconds. Like, whereas in Fort Collins, it's like new people show up, maybe like 1 or 2 a mic will be new, and like if you like what they did on stage and you encourage them, there's they might come back or not, but you haven't like wasted a bunch of time doing that.
Right.
That was something I tried to be good about at Hodi's, was like if I thought they had potential, I would try to be encouraging early on, or honestly, if it was like a woman or a person of color, I would be extra encouraging, just because there's so few of them in Fort Collins, and it's depressing to have like 30 white dudes in a row, and it just makes for a worse scene if that's all you have, in my opinion. I think it's just like, I don't know, Janae Burris had a good post about how like if it's nothing but white dudes over like for your entire show, that's like boring to the women in the audience or the people of color in the audience, and it makes sense. Like there's different life experiences that are going to get talked about, and so I'm kind of on the diversity train with regards to bookings and everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's a little controversial in Denver, but
Yeah.
well, it depends on who you're talking to.
Sure. Yeah. So here's a question I ask most people on this thing. If you could time travel back now to that first mic and give yourself some advice that you could carry with you these past 7 years, what would you tell yourself?
I think the number one, this is something I'm just figuring out the last like year, but I started filming myself at home performing it, and it feels like amateur-y kind of. It's like practicing in the mirror, which gets made fun of, but it's done so much for my like body language and just noticing what I'm doing when I'm doing comedy. Or filming myself. I film myself at.
What does that look like? Are you using like a laptop or a camcorder, or how do you? How do you set that up?
iPad that has like a stand thing I can set up, and then it's a big enough screen where I can see what I'm doing and see my body language, and the camera's pretty good. So, and then I sometimes even like set up a mic stand and have a mic in it, and make my roommates just think I'm insane, but it's.
I think that's really helpful.
Every time I do it, my set is
really
like,
helpful.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that maybe I tell myself is like, you can buy a mic stand and practice with it, because it took me so long to not feel weird adjusting it, or, you know, I left it in the mic stand for like 2 years, the microphone, because I was like, I didn't want people to see my body language of just like practically shaking, and sometimes I figured out later that it was probably half like caffeine addiction was the reason I was shaking. Like I would look down and my hands would be shaking because of drinking 3 Rockstar energy drinks that day, and I would think I was like tell me that I was nervous even though I didn't feel nervous. Like I just misread my own body language or something, and it would make me more nervous to see that. But yeah, that was kind of my way of concealing.
So then do you play back the video when you're not performing, or are you only watching it in real time on the screen?
I play it back. I don't know. I can't see the screen when I'm recording.
Oh, okay, okay.
Which is helpful because like I might make adjustments
right
while watching but I get to see closer to what I would do without any feedback like that.
And are you looking at like body movement or your face or
both? I think I just figured out that it's like I don't smile on stage nearly enough. Like I think of it as like you're, I don't know, trying too hard. It's like, it seems phony when people laugh at their own jokes, but then I used to think that, and then I'd go back and watch some of my favorite comics perform, and they're all like smiling or laughing, or it's weird to be saying comedy without looking like you're enjoying yourself. And I think that's one of my biggest things I want to work on and am working on, is just like making comedy authentically fun, but at least like trying to look like I'm having fun even when I'm doing some 5-year-old joke or something that I think, you know, is still worth doing, but I don't find it remotely funny anymore.
Right.
I kind of hate myself for doing it. But and part of that's just writing more. That's another big goal and thing I would tell myself is try to churn out material and not just churn out new jokes, but tweak your old jokes, figure out like, why is that part not working, or why do I have this lull here? Like there might be some change of wording, or just cutting out as many words as possible and cutting out the lulls and the pointless parts of a story. Like that's really important.
Do you have a way that you write? Like do you sit at a table, or do you have any kind of formality to the way you structure your writing?
I generally do it on my computer. I have this Evernote app that syncs it to my phone
as well.
So I can look at those, whatever I wrote on my computer, it will be automatically on my phone, and I can look at it at a mic and try to remember the exact wording that I figured out. And although I think I'm trying to get away from exact wording type jokes, because it just doesn't feel conversational that way. But I think like knowing, you know, certain parts of your set have to be pretty locked down to really nail what you're trying to go for. But anyway, I usually write on my computer, although I think some of my favorite jokes have been written like when I'm just sort of standing up and talking to myself. Like if my roommates are gone and I'm just sort of like riffing out loud, I'll just be a crazy person and trying to like come up with jokes. And a lot of times like writing verbally seems to be one of the best ways, and occasionally I'll do it with the camera. Like I'll try to just make up a joke, see what happens with that. But So yeah, I guess I have a bit of a process, but
Nice.
there's like an app called what do they call this, Pomodoro
Oh yeah.
thing, where you go for
Pomodoro
20
technique.
minutes and there's a 5-minute break and then another 20 minutes, and then according to some like science, it's one of the best ways to be productive or whatever.
Creatively,
but,
yeah.
So
Or
I'll do
really
that once in a
anything.
while, but I always like do the 20 minutes and then I'm like in the middle of something and I'm just like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
skip the break, and then it becomes not Pomodoro. I just want to finish whatever joke I have in my brain and not have any break.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, so you go back, you tell yourself to smile more, film yourself and pay attention to your body language, have fun on stage, and write more.
Yeah, that's
Write more is a pretty common theme. Do you, if you could time travel back to today, would you tell yourself to write more?
yes, that's something I tell myself constantly, and I don't always succeed.
How do you, so here's something I struggle with. This is like a new phenomenon for me because I'm newer. I'm like a little over a year and a half in, and I have some bits that for me work. You know, they're not really at your level, and I want to like keep doing them and practice them and get better at them. But then I have all this new material too that I want to work on. Like, how do you, how many mics do you usually go to in a week, would you say?
4 maybe, something like that.
Do you have any kind of strategy for your material that you use at those mics? Like, are you doing all new stuff, or are you mixing in new stuff with old stuff?
I think it's good to open with something that you know works, because then it kind of proves to them that you're capable of writing a joke, and which is, you know, at a mic that is in doubt. Basically, if you've seen a bunch of 30 comics in a row and 15 of them are doing it for their 3rd time or something, and or just don't write or haven't figured out how to write a joke at all yet. So just like kind of getting them on your side right out the gate, and then doing newer material in the middle, which there isn't much of a middle, you know, when you're doing 3 minutes or whatever, but still doing newer stuff after that. And then if I have time, I'll try to like close with something that I know works too, just to kind of at least end and start with something that shows that I'm capable at doing at comedy.
Right.
But
Especially that first joke is important because people will just go outside and smoke or go to the bathroom, go buy a beer.
if you're just starting off with new material and it's going badly right out the gate, and it's like, okay, I can tune out, or I can start talking to my friend now because this guy doesn't know what he's doing, even if you do. So you're gonna do your go-tos tonight? That's probably what I'll do. Unless they've seen your stuff
I
a lot.
have only one joke that I've done before down here. I'm going to open with it. It's
Okay.
quick. I think I've done it down here. I'm not positive, but I've done that one a bunch. And I have some new stuff. And the only thing I don't know is my last. Well, so I have 2.5 minutes kind of plotted out, and then I don't know. I have a bunch of bits I want to do in the last 30 seconds if we get 3 minutes, so I'm just gonna have to pick one and go with it. I'm doing 5 minutes on Saturday night at a showcase, and so like there's some strategery with like I'm gonna do this whole week I've been trying to do I'm trying to do everything from that 5 minutes in these like 3-minute chunks.
Yeah, I've always thought, like, wish I had better organization, because you could figure out, I mean, not fully, but you could at least in part figure out like an hour of material if you just cut it into 5 minutes and did that at open mics and stuff. And if I was sort of like really organized about it, I probably could figure out an hour. And I'd like to, it's probably my goal for the year, is to like actually have 45 minutes of material or something.
What's
like
the
that.
longest set you've done?
Probably like 35 to 40, something like that.
Wow.
Didn't go like amazing, but I think like most of it I did pretty well, but I don't think I had 35 to 40 at that point.
Yeah. It can be hard to, like, those longer sets, especially if you're really good, like you watch the professionals, they have like themes throughout, multiple callbacks, and so if you're doing it in 5-minute chunks, you can't and sometimes like the setup for stuff at minute 30 or 40 can be much shorter because you've already explained, in the first half hour, things about you or your family or just whatever. You can jump right back into a premise.
Yeah, they know you better.
Yeah,
that's true. So it might not be possible, but I would like to. There's like a thing that Ari Shaffir does. I think he might have got it from Bill Burr or somebody. Where he just tries to write 5 minutes a month, which is an hour after a year.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it does, when you put it that way, it's like, oh, that's so simple and obvious and easy seeming, at least on the surface. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but to have a good 5 minutes,
right.
I mean, that can take years. I'm not even sure I have a good 5 minutes a year and a half in.
I'm not sure I do sometimes, but after 7. But I think part of it's your standards go up. Like,
yeah,
you become more capable. Your best joke is better than it used to be, and so you're like, I want everything to be as good as my best joke.
Right.
And that's a constantly shifting goal. So, and I think even, professional comics, it's hard to have everything be at the same consistent greatness, and occasionally it happens, but there'll be lulls in Netflix specials and stuff where I'm like, I'm not laughing for 20 minutes, even though I'm like, there's parts of it I think that are like really great. There's dead parts, and just, maybe I would enjoy them in person more, but
yeah, well, it's also hard for somebody who does comedy 4 nights a week to laugh as organically as somebody who's really just a consumer of comedy.
I'm like the world's worst audience member. Like, I always sit in the back if I can, because if I'm front row, it's just like stank face and everyone thinks they're bombing, and I'm like, I'm not an objective observer here. I've just seen too much comedy, and I'm dead inside and can't laugh at anything, including my own jokes. So just don't go off of how I'm reacting, 'cause I don't even trust my own.
Was there a period of time where that started, or was it did it take a couple years to get to that, or have you always been that way?
It's gotten worse the more I do comedy and more open mics I sit through.
Doing 100+ open mics, hosting them, and seeing everybody. Jeez, that's a lot. You've seen a lot of comedy.
Yes, and not that I watched that much of what would happen at Hodi's, at least after a certain point. I tried to tune in, especially near the end. Like, I try to comment on whatever they just talked about, but especially at Hodi's, people would just come up and talk to me like a lot. Like, I was just getting in conversations constantly, so it wasn't easy to actually, even if I wanted to watch everything, I couldn't have. But I've seen a lot of comedy, and certain topics get talked about over and over and over again, so it's like hard to have a new take on them, and hard for me to make me laugh about whatever, sex joke or what. Not that I love sex jokes, and that's probably, I like dirty comedy, but anyway, I think it was already kind of bad when I started, though, because I was always like a comedy nerd and watched like every George Carlin special growing up, and like read his books. I got into him in like middle school because he was like cranky, and I was a pissed off, angsty middle schooler who hated everybody. So George Carlin was expressing how I felt, and
that's cool.
I was like a dogmatic liberal, and I still kind of am, but his like preachiness and rantiness was like very up my alley at that point. And I got into like Bill Hicks a little bit, and a little bit of Cosby, but not too much.
Who's that?
He's been canceled, so I should have forgotten his name. Deservedly canceled. He should be the most canceled person.
Very funny bits, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's
a terrific comedian. Some
legendary jokes and just ability to go for an hour and a half and remain entertaining. Long
sets. Holy cow.
A little bit of Richard Pryor, although like I did not get him for a long time, and then there's one special where I really just saw how amazing he is, and I always forget the name of it because I'm always like trying to recommend it, but it wasn't the one after. He like burnt himself freebasing or whatever. It wasn't the one after that one. That one's pretty good, like by my own random sense of humor. But there's like, I think it's the one before that one or something that I really liked. And made me laugh 40 years later. And since it's hard to make me laugh, is that extra impressive.
Right.
But
Do you? What's your plan for tonight? Do you know what jokes you're gonna do, or?
yeah, I think I wasn't sure how much time we were doing. Actually, it was one of the reasons I drove instead of taking the light rail. Was I was like, I want to practice and kind of time out. Like, okay, I know what 5 minutes would be, but like, let's see where I'm at 4 and 3, because I didn't know.
Isn't driving by yourself the best time to practice comedy? I love that. That's been the biggest revelation about the thing that I would not have guessed ahead of time. I used to hate driving. Now I'll like do favors for people. Oh, it's 45 minutes away, and you know, you just need something picked up. Yeah, sure, I'll go. I'll go. And I'll just record myself and listen back, and record myself and listen back.
Yeah, you're alone.
Very zen, and
like, I used to get a little self-conscious that other cars would be looking at me.
Oh, I totally do that. I get into these act out things, and when we're in traffic and I'm like using my hands and I'm like yelling kinda, and you can see in the rear view mirror, like the people, like, what is going on?
Think you're yelling at them or freaking out. Yeah, I'm up to the point where sometimes I'll even like pretend to be on my phone so I look less crazy. That's usually when I'm like in a parking lot, or something. Because if you're talking to yourself in a parking lot, that looks extra insane. But yeah, it's been, especially early on, it was the only way I could memorize anything, because I have a really bad memory. It's gotten better over time, but especially quitting drinking helped me like not forget everything. But that was like my only way of keeping my material in my brain, because I would get so nervous and stuff that it would be like deleted the second I got on stage. And there were so many sets where early on where it was like a minute in and I was like, I guess that's it, bye.
Oh jeez.
I don't know if there's...
Well, it's so scary too. Like, your body is in like panic mode.
Yeah, you get like tunnel vision a little bit, and you dissociate sometimes, like early on. I don't feel that way anymore.
I'm surprised sometimes when like I'm in the car and I'm nailing my material. I know it. I know it's stone cold.
Right.
And then I'll get to a mic and hang out and talk to people and watch an hour of comedy. And then I get on stage, I'm in the lights, and I'm nervous, and like what I knew stone cold an hour or two before, I'm suddenly like, what was it?
Yeah.
And then the minute I get off stage, I realize I forgot like 2 tags, and I'm like, oh gosh, come on.
That's one of my issues at Denver mics, because I will have a new joke, and then I'm sitting there for 3 hours, and I've tried to memorize it somewhat, but and I kind of, at this point, I do trust myself to remember better. Like, the nerves don't delete things from my memory as easily, but it's still, after 3 hours, it's just not in like my brain how I want it, and
that's hard.
Yeah, I think it remains an issue, but I do like practicing in my car. Sometimes I like won't want to give people rides to mics. Like when I was living in Greeley, there'd be Greeley comics who want to ride up to Hodi's with me or whatever, and I just would be like, kind of sometimes dodging it because I had some new thing I wanted to practice, and like I'm not gonna have it memorized. I'm gonna fuck up my new joke if I drive you.
Right.
I guess I could have just practiced with them in the car, but that'd be extra.
That'd be weird.
Crazy feeling.
So one of the things I like to do is we have each other challenge each other to do something at this mic, and then we'll talk about it on the way back. So I don't think you've seen me too much.
I want you to say the N-word. Just kidding. Might work in the Springs, actually. I don't know. They would like it.
Oh my God. That is by far the hardest challenge I've heard yet from anybody.
You have to open with it too. You have to win them back by the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna decline that challenge. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll give you a minute to think about it, and I'll think about yours. I should have thought
something
of this
to do on stage, or
yeah, anything to do with the mic and on stage is best. How about for you? Killing time. I'm thinking hard. How about, like, can you do a voice? Do you have anything in your material to do a voice that you're gonna work on?
I kind of have voices. I could switch to.
Don't change your material. How about
I guess I have a thing where I'm doing an impression of my ex-girlfriend, so I could ham that up a little bit.
That counts. Okay. How about you get a laugh from doing a voice that isn't your, stage persona voice. So somebody else's voice. That's my challenge to you.
Okay.
Give that a shot, and we'll talk about it after the mic. All right.
Maybe do something crowd worky. I don't know. Interact with the crowd a little bit.
Interact with the crowd. Okay. I like that.
Trying to pick something that won't like change your set too much, but
okay.
It can even just be like, "Hi, sir." I'm not gonna hold you to this, even if.
Yeah, it might be kind of a weak attempt because if basically I don't have a lot of fat to work with.
Yeah, if it's
a lot of extra
3
time.
minutes.
But I like the idea. Do you have a secondary challenge?
Yell something. Yell part of your set.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I think I can work that in.
Even
All right,
if it's 2
so
words.
some crowd work and yell.
Yeah, you can pick one of those.
Okay.
You have to do
All right.
both.
It's a choice. It's a menu. I like that. Cool.
So we're getting close.
We're getting close. 5 minutes away.
Oh my god. I've had to pee for the last 45
geez.
minutes, but I'm like, I'm not saying anything.
All right.
If this mic means we're be there. If me peeing means we're gonna be there 2 hours
we
later,
definitely-
I will not pee.
Yeah.
I will hold it. I have a tiny ass bladder, so this is extra heroic.
Have you talked about that on stage?
No. I guess I could.
Pretty fun.
I think it's more a caffeine thing than whatever. Because when I quit caffeine for like a month, I did not feel like I had frequent urination issues. But as soon as I did, it went back, it became a problem.
Have you found? I didn't realize you didn't drink. I didn't know that you did drink ever either. I just didn't know anything about it. I was information neutral on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you don't drink, do you find mics to be more challenging or different in any way?
I never drank too much of mine. I would drink after my set.
Okay.
Probably, the socialization part after, like, if I don't know, if I'm at a mic where I don't know too many people, or there's a bunch of new people that I haven't met yet, I don't know. I guess like this many months later, I'm like 11 months in, so
Okay.
the anxiety's like mainly gone. Social anxiety was like pretty high for the first couple months because I was using it to not feel anxious, and also I think alcohol makes you more anxious when you're not drinking than you would have been. I became calmer just by not having drunk recently.
Okay.
So it's not really felt too hard since. I think it's made it easier, and just in terms of I write more, and I think I'm more comfortable in my own skin than I was when I was drinking a lot. And
Is it a bummer at all in terms of compensation? Like sometimes shows won't pay you money, but they pay you in drinks or maybe even Hodis or...
yeah, I do think about that sometimes where I'm like, can you just hand me $2 or $5 instead? But I get that, it costs them almost nothing to pour drinks. So there's a reason it's part of the compensation. But I don't, usually I'll get like something else, sparkling water or a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I'll feel like I'm compensated.
Right.
But
Have you ever been stiffed from a gig?
Kinda, yeah, I have. It was actually a Springs comic.
Oh, geez.
I was on a roast battle thing, and he told us it was going to be paid, and didn't specify the pay, and I had to bring up the fact that I was supposed to be paid, and then after like 45 minutes of wrangling, he handed me a $5 bill, which I should have just turned down at that point. But it was like, when you're not specifying the pay, it should, at least $10, usually $20 or something like that would be expected, especially for the amount of work that a roast battle is. Like that, you have to write so much, and
yeah, that's a good point.
it's just a big time investment.
It's unique to that show. You can't necessarily reuse that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a one-off, and I don't know if you get paid for nerd roast and stuff. Oh my god.
Speaking of the building, world famous Loonies closing in.
Getting so nervous.
Jitters are coming in.
The Loonies. I forgot what I was saying, but I don't know if you get paid for nerd roast and stuff like that. But it's just don't tell me I'm gonna get paid if I'm either not gonna get paid or I had to pushed to get the $5 out of him. So it was
Right.
basically, he was trying to stiff me. I did not win my roast battle. So he's like, well, you didn't win, so blah, blah, blah. But that was never stipulated.
Jeez.
What was that?
I think I ran a red light and screwed the left turners.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was gonna. Okay,
was
I thought it was the guy
oncoming
running the
traffic.
light that was honking, and I was like, "What do you have to honk about?" That was Matt Gabriel. I'll call him out. I don't.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
He'll be here probably.
Yeah.
I think.
assume.
Oh boy, we could have some
He's a
good drama when we
sketchy
come
dude.
back.
Yeah, I'm gonna confront him about this. This happened like 2 years ago, but now's the time to bring it up again.
So if Nate comes back with a black eye or something, just don't mention it.
Yeah, he'll be the one with the black eye.
Oh, there we go.
That'll be my first ever fight. I have been punched one time
Oh wow.
in my entire life.
Comedy related or like a school?
Yeah, I guess it's comedy
Yeah.
related. It was a comedian who did it, but it
Oh,
was
geez.
it was my friend, and
Okay.
I told him I'd never been punched, and he's like, I will pay you $30 to let me punch you, and we were both like close to blackout. So
You paid him?
no, he paid me $30 so that he could punch me.
Okay.
I still don't know how to feel about that,
Okay.
and I let him.
Looks like it's locked up. I would assume since these people are standing outside. So let's keep.
Maybe,
we'll
unless
keep.
there's smoke.
Or do you need to pee?
I do have to.
All right, guys. We'll be back after we do the open mic at Loonee's Comedy Corner, which let's just give you a quick sneak peek of that. All right. We'll say bye-bye. Bye. All right, we're back. Mark Masters, Nate Brown.
We did it.
We did it.
Open mic in the
Loonee's.
bag.
Loonee's. We actually the timing was terrific when we arrived. Oops, sorry. Hopefully we don't get pulled from YouTube because of that. Yeah, we got on a list super early. We got to go up 4 and 5, and we stuck around for a moderately painful but polite hour to watch some other comics.
Yeah.
Not worth it, turns out.
Yeah, I don't know. I like at least getting to see what a room can be like, and if I come back in the future, like it's good knowledge to have of what it turns into. But
Yeah, decent crowd, 40-ish people in the audience. Not bad for an open mic.
yeah, and they stuck around.
They were a little tight in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely they were still warming up. I think when we were on stage, probably, but
Yeah, it's funny because we were joking, like, who would want to go up later?
yeah, it was,
Now we know.
as the show went on, I was like, damn it, I wish I was in the 10 spot or 15, whatever
Next time.
it was. I guess 2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
a little different.
they cut it down from 3 to 2.5, which is a little bit of a bummer. By the way, I went 0 for on my challenges. Did not yell, did not address anybody in the crowd.
I forgot about them entirely, so.
I did slam in the Nintendo joke to give you a layup.
Yeah.
I thought I had gone
7 a.m.
long, but when I got off, it looked like I did it almost exactly 2:30, which is good.
I think I did go long.
Yeah.
Like I recorded it and it was like 4 minutes on my thing, but maybe I hit it earlier than I thought, or I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
You definitely were a little long.
Yeah.
Because I saw Eric come in and look at his phone, and I knew that was 2:30, and I was like, he's not gonna wrap up right here. He might get the light.
Literally my plan was to wait for the light. So because I did not know what 2.5 minutes would be.
Yeah. It's a weird amount of time.
Yeah, I timed almost every other option on my way down, but 2.5 was just not in my brain. So I blame them. I blame them for letting me go long.
All right. So, anyways, and how was your challenge? What was your challenge? What did I challenge you to do?
Do a voice.
Do a voice.
And the joke I planned on doing the voice for, I forgot to do.
Okay, we went 0 for 3
Yeah.
between the two of us. All right, not terrific, but I got some laughs and I learned some stuff about my material. I have a new tag that I thought might be a little too dirty, and I'll have to listen to the recording to make sure. But I think they liked it. They
seem to like dirty material.
Yeah, they also
when it
liked
happened.
some horribly racist stuff after me, so that was not necessarily a good barometer for that. There was another. Oh, I had a brand new tag to a joke I've been doing for a little bit, and it hit, so I was pretty happy about that. And then I think my closer didn't do so hot, but I have to listen to it again. I added a new section to it.
felt like a road gig, kind of like, or it actually reminded me of Greeley. There used to be a comedy club in Greeley called the Down Under that was like in the back of a King Soopers, and
Literally?
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It was hard to find.
Where's the weirdest place you've done comedy? Top 3 weird, crazy comedy stories.
I already mentioned the Dab Lounge. That's got to be up there.
Okay.
In Austin, there was an open mic that was like outside of a donut shop, like on the porch of a donut shop, and
Okay.
that was strange. Strip club. That was my first.
Oh, no
first
way.
Paid set was a strip club. Yeah.
What? Where?
The bus stop in Boulder, Colorado.
Whoa.
I think it's closed down now, but
Holy moly.
they would have things where they'd do a stripper, and then you would do a set, and then a stripper, and then a set, and
What an incredible story.
yeah, and it was
How'd you do?
bad. I think that first I did it a few times. I think the first time was like literally during the NBA finals.
Maybe
Like
the TV's
the
on?
final moments of the NBA finals that year was and everyone was watching it. Like there was like a couple of the strippers that were looking at me, but it was not a good set. I mean, it was like impossible to get their attention. At least at that point. I think if I'd like screamed, and it was possible, but I wasn't capable of it. And then other ones, I don't know. I got like pulled onto the stage by a stripper at one point. No, she came on stage while I was doing my set and like kind of laid down on me. I was very uncomfortable, but I was still like doing my stupid one-liner jokes or whatever that I did at that point, and it was I don't know. It was a set that I remember forever. And actually, Tobias was there. He was the one who ran that show. So he brings up that set like all the time.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a good one. You were telling me at dinner that you had a new idea for the time travel question. Something you might have told yourself back in the day. Do you remember?
Do improv.
Yeah.
I think improv is like very good. There's a lot of overlap in terms of like how much better you'll become at stand-up, I think, from improv. I think it just like makes your brain work in a different way, and I've written a lot more since I started improv than before, and I think it's a good practice, and stand-up basically is like a form of theater, so anything that helps you practice that skill of being on stage is really important. So yeah.
Cool. Nice. Improv, huh? Well, I always wondered this about improv. When you're making stuff up on stage, do you ever later think, oh man, that was a funny riff, I should use that in a bit?
Yeah, I think it's happened. I don't know that I've ever actually done it. Well, actually taken something from an improv scene and done it on stage. But I think it gets my brain working in a different way, and it makes me a better writer in general. When I've done improv that day, I like the material I produce better than otherwise. So yeah, it's been helpful.
Nice.
I've taken a few different classes, and it's I took some classes in Fort Collins, and those are my favorite that I've done so far. Like the teachers are just really good, and like good at getting you to open up, and like they would laugh their asses off at like everything you do. So it made you feel like you were a genius, and which is good for improv. Like it's such a kind of scary thing to act and to be a character and stuff. As much encouragement as possible is really useful. But and then I've done other like drop-in classes in Denver and different things. I'm thinking about taking like the Voodoo. They have a whole like improv 101, 201, 301, and so I'm thinking of doing that soon.
Nice.
That's like $150 or something, but you can also like volunteer
For the whole thing, or
no, just per class,
Yeah.
and then you could do like 8 weeks of classes or something.
Nice.
But you can also volunteer there and do like 3 hours a week or something, and pay for it that way. So I don't know, I might do it that way.
Nice. Sam Talent used to do improv, and he's one of my favorite comedians. So
Yeah.
I think there's some validity to that. Although I am not a practitioner. Do
Should
not
get on that.
do the improv. But yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should give that a shot.
It's fun too. I was nervous going into my first improv class, and still get nervous occasionally walking in, because it's kind of against the grain. And like I get people to make fun of improv because it's so, there's a lot of like corny improv and like just lame bad improv out there, similar to stand up, but it's
We saw some of that tonight.
yeah, plenty of
How about the Jesselnick guy?
yeah,
See
Parker
him?
or something.
I don't remember his name, but he was his first
Like,
joke
one with
was
a note,
actually
or-
really good. The guy with the leather jacket.
I might have missed him.
You
I
weren't
might have missed
there.
him. There was
You weren't
another
there.
kind of one-liner guy later
There was
on who did well.
dead,
but-
yeah, this guy was like, dead babies kind of twist. Like, he was a dead ringer for Jesselnick,
Just,
no
yeah.
pun intended. And he had like, I'd say he probably did like 10 jokes, and I think 3 of them were good. Like I didn't see the twist. I mean, I kind of saw the twist coming, but they were funny.
Yeah.
He had a couple funny ones. I even forget what his first joke was, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like Jesselnick's one of the most kind of ripped off comics.
Copied persona.
Yeah, copied. Although I don't know, I feel like dark one-liners sort of existed before him.
Yeah, he's different in that, like, he's clean cut, and he doesn't look like he should be telling dark jokes, and they don't usually start out dark, you know?
Yeah.
But, and then I don't know. Yeah. He's a good joke writer. I saw him in LA recently, like 2 months ago. This is actually kind of a cool story for anybody who goes to LA. Wednesday nights at the Comedy Store is like a showcase in the big room. And like when I went, it was $20 a ticket, but on Twitter that day they had a promo code for free tickets. So it's weird. I don't know why that keeps happening. So anyways, I got to go for free, and I wasn't like expecting a lot, but Whitney Cummings went up, and she introduced Anthony Jeselnik, and he went up, and I actually had to go home early, but I missed who's the short guy? Brad,
Oh, yeah.
he just got in
Williams?
trouble. Brad Williams was
Yeah.
on later. A couple people that have been on TV. It was incredible. So Wednesday nights, Comedy Store. Anyways, the cool thing about seeing Jeselnik was that he did maybe 15, 20 jokes, and I'd say 4 of them did not work. Like, they were probably the first time he'd ever told them. And it was like, kind of like seeing into a magician's closet or something. Like, I've only ever seen him on TV with super polished material.
Yeah.
And thought that he was like a flawless comic, you know? And he actually, I did not laugh at some of the jokes. I was like, I either didn't get it, or like it was too obvious or too much of a stretch. And he even addressed it on stage a little bit, like, okay, that one doesn't work.
Yeah.
He'd pull out his little notebook and scratch it out.
It's one of my favorite parts of seeing like someone who's a comedy hero, or someone who I think like, you know, never messes up or never writes a bad joke or something, and it's you see them in process, and it's like, oh no, comedy is hard for everybody, including the best headliners in the world.
Yeah.
And they're all working on it, and like they put more work into it than almost everyone. That's why they're some of the best.
Right.
But like Joey Diaz, he's like friends with Joe Rogan and stuff.
Yep.
But I think he's a great comic in my opinion. And I saw him at the Improv in Denver, and there was like a couple. No, this actually was at Comedy Works, because I've seen him a couple times. At Comedy Works, he did a joke, and it led nowhere. Like there was no punchline, and everyone kind of laughed because there was no punchline. But it was basically his version of bombing. Like that joke went nowhere and was not finished. And just seeing that moment of a comic who's made me like cry laughing, like totally having a dud, was a little relieving. I don't know. It's like, it's nice to see that they mess up too. And
Right.
comedy's hard for everybody.
Huh.
But yeah, I've never been to the Comedy Store. I need to go. I need to go to LA in general, just to visit at least.
Yeah, here's the pro tip I can give you. I almost took 25 South. That would have been bad. I've been twice. The first time I flew there, and it was kind of a disaster, because you can travel for 45 plus minutes between mics. Like, they are so far apart, and with the traffic, it's outrageous. This last time I actually drove there, which is a little crazy. But having a car there was a total. What is going on here? Oh, jeez, we're about to die on camera. Wow. Having a car there was a game changer. It was great because it's just a very spread out city. I mean, if you want to just do like comedy tourism stuff, Laugh Factory and Comedy Store, just a couple blocks apart. If you can stay in that part of West Hollywood, that's where you can watch a lot of comedy, but that's not where any of the mics are.
Right. How were you getting around when you flew in? You just taking Ubers or something?
I had a buddy who had a car and some Lyfts and Ubers, and it was just inconvenient and stressful and expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally. So
there's a subway kind of thing that I took once or twice. If you want to get to downtown LA, that's a good way to go.
I don't even know. I think of them as having no public transport, like probably buses. But
I've seen the movie Speed. They appear to have.
Yeah, I forgot about that documentary.
Buses.
Speed.
Yeah.
Pretty fast buses too. Yeah. If you can keep it going 50 miles an hour. It'd be amazing.
We're just starting an improv troupe right now.
Yeah.
Live. Just riffing.
We're yes-anding each other.
Yes. And
yeah, do you know William Montgomery?
Yeah. I saw him out there. And do you have William Montgomery stories?
Let's
hear them.
I don't know if I have stories.
I've had, you're like approximately the 10th comic on here, between 10 and 15. I'd say 8 of the comedians I've had have told William Montgomery stories. That might be an exaggeration, but anybody who was in Denver like 5+ years ago when he was around has a crazy William Montgomery story. So, what do you know about it?
Well, I don't know. We're friends basically. Like I don't know. We would talk and stuff at mics and shows, and but he a few months ago he just called me randomly at like 1 in the morning, and I didn't answer because I thought it was a butt dial or something. I couldn't figure out why he'd be calling me, and then like a week later he called me again, and I was like, okay, this can't be a mistake. So I answered, and then he just like riffed at me for like an hour, and I like barely said anything because he was just making up stories about his life, and like he's like a genius in my opinion, because I was laughing so hard at like everything. I was basically his audience. I think that was kind of what he does, is gets drunk,
one-man comedy show.
Yeah, and just finds an audience member in his Facebook Messenger and calls him. The thing I remember the most is him being at Gallagher Fest, which is a thing where, have you been to Gallagher Fest?
I don't even know what it is.
It's like a yearly thing. I think they're still doing it this year, but it's a tribute to Gallagher, and like
the Watermelon comic?
Yes.
Okay. Where is it?
It's changed locations a few times. The one he was at was like a backyard of someone's house.
But in the Denver area?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Denver fest, I guess.
Okay.
It's run by CJ Willard, who I talked about when we were at Chipotle.
You just disclosed our secret dining establishment. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Call the editors.
Messed up. Well, yeah, you can.
Chipotle, a Denver brand. Started in Denver.
Correct. I've been to the original Chipotle.
I have as well.
It's very tiny. Every comic, I think anyone who wants can sign up who's a comedian and do like 5 minutes, and you have to smash fruit during your thing. And you can pick what fruit, and you can smash, I don't know, people have been really creative about it, but he like made fun of every comic. He kind of just roasted everyone, and I wish I could remember some of the stuff he said, but it was hilarious. He just like crushed, and we talked about that on the phone, and then he like brought up specific comics who were like scowling through that set, because that could be a Denver thing sometimes, is where like comics don't want to laugh at another comedian. It's like they're giving their power away to admit anyone but themselves is funny. So he was saying how much he still resents those specific comics for not laughing during this set that was objectively hilarious. But yeah, he's one of my favorite comics that I've at least seen.
Yeah, I'm bummed I missed
locally.
that. Do you think there's somebody in the scene today that could be the next William Montgomery?
Derek Stroop is up there. I mean, William Montgomery's one of the things is he was so strange, like in such a unique style. I think that's why he's blown up in LA. Is he's like so different, and I think he was a little too different for Colorado. Like if you watch his Comedy Works sets, he had like 1 out of the 4 sets that I watched, he actually did well, and then like a lot of the other ones they did not get him at all, and that was kind of eye-opening to me. Just like it is a club audience at Comedy Works. Their alty kind of stuff is not, even if it's, you know, he's, I don't like calling him alt because alt has like a negative connotation. I think it's just creative out there stuff doesn't always work at a club, and watching those videos like taught me that someone who can move to LA and be like, the second he was on that there's a podcast, Kill Tony, like Tony Hinchcliffe like loved him and made him part of the repertoire or whatever.
Was Tony Hinchcliffe, does he have a Denver connection? Did he come from Denver?
Not,
do you know?
He might have, not to my knowledge, but he does come here. He's like, he does Comedy Works. Right. You know, I think he comes here a lot, so he's kind of part of that Rogan crew that comes here a surprising amount. Okay. Joey Diaz like started in Boulder, I think. Yeah,
that's true.
I think I've heard him talk about doing the Bus Stop show.
No way. The one you were talking about, the strip club?
I'm pretty sure he did. There's an improv guy, who I'm blanking the name of. I just listened. He's like one of the founders of the UCB, Matt Besser, that's his name. But I guess he started in Colorado, and he talked about the Bus Stop show. This was on a podcast I listened to like a week ago. I was like, oh my god. I think he said that was his first set, was Bus Stop. Or first paid set too, so that was a weird coincidence. And then he talked about bombing at the Comedy Works and how that almost made him quit. And I don't know, it was just cool that this guy I think is hilarious, like started here. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, Tony Hinchcliffe. But yeah, William Montgomery.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Fireball.
So, local weirdos.
I don't know, just anybody, you know, like so many people say that he was their favorite.
Yeah, he has such a unique delivery and style. I haven't seen Kevin Clapman in a long time, but he's similarly weird. He's done Kill Tony as well. I think Tony liked him. It wasn't the same level as William Montgomery, but he did well in there. I do like really weird comics. I don't know.
Well, I think that's the curse, if you will, of being a comedian and seeing so much comedy.
Yeah, you only like